Hey guys, Jay here. Welcome to Eons of Battle. A little over a year ago, I had a video showing off all of my kill teams, and I called it No One Has More Kill Teams Than Me, which many people proved me wrong in the comments, but 2023 was a big year for kill team, and I have more than doubled my collection. Like, I almost have more kill team models than like 40k models or for any other game system. It's starting to become a problem. But I want to go through every new kill team I have completed and just take a little trip down memory lane. Starting with the worst kill team ever made, Hunterclade Oops All Stealth Suits. I absolutely love the paint job on these guys. Green and red is like a perfect combination, and I like it so much, it's pretty much the scheme for my Tyranid army. I absolutely love the look of stealth suits. I don't know if I'll ever start a Tau army, but if I do, it will be this scheme because I love it so much. And I played these guys twice on the tabletop, and they are awful. They have way too few activations. Their stealth ability doesn't really protect them from getting just one-shotted from anywhere on the board. They have okay guns, but overall, they are terrible. And I absolutely love them. Oh, we your cow guys. And I tried the Games Workshop plants. Way too expensive, but very nice. They're made of rubber, and so they don't break. But speaking of compendium teams, I finally got my Space Marine Deathwatch team up and running. The Deathwatch, still one of the slightly competitive teams out of compendium, but man, I used to have a Deathwatch army and I sold it. And I'm fine with having sold it because I do not need two different colors of Space Marines, and they're not even a different color because Black Templar and Deathwatch are both black. But I love how this team came together. I really like the Deathwatch. They're a really fun offshoot of the Space Marines, and mine are extra special because they're lady Space Marines. I got some heads from Anvil Industries. I got to use all of the remaining bits I have left over from that army, and I found these really cool Necron Tomb World bases. They were STLs online, and this is also a very fun team to play with, and they were really fun to paint. And now that I have completed my Deathwatch Marines, although I do have plenty of shoulder pads left, and I sprinkle them into my Black Templar army because when Space Marines are sent to the Deathwatch, if they survive the Deathwatch, they come back to their parent chapter and they keep their shoulder pad. And so it's just like a fun little hidden lore element. It's like a hidden Mickey in your Space Marine army. It's like that guy, that one little intercessor, he's extra special. He went to the Deathwatch. I really like this team. Really fun colors, painted up fairly quickly. The heads took the longest time. Like each Space Marine head probably took as long as the rest of the Space Marine. And their power weapons. And I actually magnetized these to have every single possible weapon option combination, which I probably didn't need to do because I've only ever run one loadout, but I really like the Deathwatch. And Space Marines are just really fun and kill team. But speaking of Space Marines, the chaotic Space Marines, the Legionaries, painted in perfect Games Workshop style, which I will never do again because these guys took ages and ages to paint. It was all the gold, picking out all of that trim perfectly with a base coat, like 5 layers of base coat, a highlight, a wash, an edge highlight. It was madness, but it was worth it for the Night Lords. And Games Workshop agrees with me because recently they showed off a new Chaos Space Marine kill team, and it is the Night Lords. So I actually finished my Night Lords almost like a year early, and I really like mine. For my Sorcerer, I actually used a model from Carnival, which is another miniature war game. And so she's like just a normal human, but because she has magical powers, she is as powerful as a full Chaos Space Marine. These guys were really fun to kit bash and to put together, and I don't want to paint more Night Lords because holy moly, I can't deal with the trim. I can't deal with Chaos Space Marine trim ever again. If I do start a Chaos army, I would have to come up with a really clever way of doing the trim. Maybe just dry brush the heck out of them first step and then painting in all the in-between parts, but that also sounds like a big old pain. Maybe just using the Horus Heresy models in place of Space Marines because Chaos Space Marines use the older armor marks. Or maybe I'll just play Nurgle because I do play Nurgle, and the Nurgle boys, you don't have to pick out the trim. You just roll them in snot and they're done and they look perfect. But I love the Night Lords. One of the kill teams I just look at the most, especially with their humongous backpacks. I used every skull and every pointy bit in my bit spin to pull these off, and I really, really like them. But speaking of a kill team, that's just kind of Wormblade. I put my Wormblade together out of just models I grabbed from my Genestealer Cult army, because I don't really care about my Genestealer Cult army. It's just such a mess. I painted the majority of it before I got good at painting, so they're kind of bad, but some of them are good. I don't know, but right now, a bunch of them are Wormblade, and they are fantastic. I've mixed magenta with their skin to make their skin look like inflamed and painful, which I really, really like for Genestealer Cult. The only thing is the bases. I don't love the bases, especially on this guy, the Gunslinger. He feels like he should be in a Western, but his base is a little bit more Little House on the Prairie, like it's a little meadow. I don't know, I do need to redo the bases on these guys, and I need to redo my entire Genestealer Cult army, which I don't know if I have it in me. The Genestealer Cult are very, very tricky to paint. I remember painting these guys up live on camera back when we used to live stream, and it was really, really fun. I like the colors that I picked, green, blue, and then kind of a magenta skin tone, although it's kind of a lot of colors. And whenever a model has a lot of colors, I always find it's really tricky to come up with a really good base for them. Because the base, it should be a complementary color. It should be something that helps emphasize different parts of the model, but I don't know if any of those colors would look good on the base. I'm not so sure, but I do like the Wormblade. But speaking of filthy Xenos, the Void Scarred Corsairs. These guys were one of the very first models I painted up with Army Painter Speed Paints version 1. And they worked out really, really well. I love how they came out. Orange with neon green is so much fun. And I am not allowed to touch these models because I think I've broken every single one of them. It's like, I don't even want to start an Eldar army now because they're so fragile. Every little tiny thing, this sword snapped right off. The sniper guy's sniper barrel snapped right off. It's just the style of the Eldar. They have all of these tiny little details that love to break off, but it's okay, Void Scarred. I still like you guys anyway, and your bird is cool. Bird was the original crab. Nobody really cared about the bird. The bird got some traction online, but it was nothing compared to what crab got online. I really, really like these guys. I still use my Army Painter version 1 set all the time. I like those colors a lot. I don't really find reactivation is ever a problem for me. Some colors like the red does reactivate, but sometimes you can kind of use that to your advantage, lay it down as a base coat, and then use water to pull it away to do some highlights. I really, really like these guys. Orange and neon green Eldar would look really, really cool, but I just can't. It also means that I couldn't get the model secondhand because they would be busted. I've been buying a bunch of Tyranid secondhand and they're a little chipped and damaged here and there. I feel like an Eldar army would just be, I would just get a baggie of parts and I'd have to put it all back together. But the Void Scarred are a lot of fun, especially Teleporty guy, the Striking Scorpion character. That guy is really fun to play with. But speaking of very fun to play with, Adeptuscustodes. I painted these guys up quick because I was getting them ready for Adepticon. I got to play with Matt over from Dr. Rhino. He streams on Twitch. We had a lovely game where I absolutely demolished him. It was a mirror match. My Custodes versus his Custodes. It was an absolute banana fest, which is the cute name for the Custodes, as they're the golden banana boys. But these guys, so much fun because they're incredibly simple. It's 4 operatives. You can give them all the spears, and then literally, like, you don't even have to think. They all have the same abilities. They all have the exact same weapons. They don't do anything fancy. They don't do anything special. They just get to shoot, move, charge. Like, they get 3 activations apiece, and you can get 4 with some equipment. So they're an incredibly easy kill team to play. Might be the kill team I have played the most. Actually, these Custodes are so awesome that Scott the Miniature Maniac refused to play me because we were gonna play at Adepticon, but then he kind of skirted me, ghosted me the whole time as I was texting him nonstop, being like, "Come play me in Kill Team." And he says it's because he didn't have his Kill Team ready, but I don't believe him. I think it was because he was terrified of the Custodes. The Custodes is an incredibly fun kill team to play with. I really like smaller teams, but for some reason I decided to put together a second veteran guardsman kill team. I already have the original one, the Kriegers. but I decided to put together some Katchans because I had the models lying around. And so I thought, well, I do want to paint them up, so why not just do another huge swarm kill team? And I really, really like them. I haven't played with these guys yet because I usually use the Krieg because they have their weapon options are a little bit more like WYSIWYG than these guys, but I like them a lot. I like the Katchans. I like Rambo. It's one of my favorite movies, and they're so much fun to paint because they're so tiny. Look at this model. It's tiny, and so they paint up so incredibly quickly. I've gone through the internet finding some other like off-brand Katchan models. Like this one here, I think is from Artel W. Some really, really fun. I also have a bunch of old metal Katchan from ancient Games Workshop history. So it's a kind of a fun little museum of old and new. Really, really fun kill team to put together. I should one day do a mirror match of veteran guardsmen versus veteran guardsmen, although that mirror match would take hours upon hours because it'd be 14 bodies versus 14 bodies. It would be a nightmare, but it would be a lot of fun. It would kind of be a slap fest because veteran guardsmen aren't good. They use their shenanigans to pull things off. But if you use your shenanigans to kill one little toughness 3 model, it's just gonna be hilarious. I'm definitely gonna have to make that happen. And I have a whole bunch of models from Hardcore Miniatures that are in the Katchan style. So I might need to add to this completely superfluous and unnecessary kill team I have. Similarly to Imperial Guard, I also have the Kzarin. These guys are very special because I set myself a challenge to paint these guys up using only 3 colors of paint. And I pushed those colors to the absolute limit. And I literally picked orange as one of the colors just because I knew it would look good on the plasma gun. It was a dumb color to pick. It gave me so few blending options, but doesn't that plasma gun look pretty darn good? These guys are a little pale and a little bit like unhighlighted. Actually, they're highlighted okay, but they lack any depth in the recesses. I would love to just take these guys and dunk them in a wash because I feel like it would just finish them. They would look perfect if only they could have some Nuln Oil, but I won't give it to them. They stand as a testament to what can be done with only 3 colors of paint. It would almost be interesting to try again and just have like somebody else pick 3 random colors, like maybe like 3 models, each with their own 3 random colors, and just see what happens. Because I like these guys. I think they look pretty darn smart for how little paint I had to work with. And I tried the Green Stuff World texture roller on the base. Very hard to use. The Green Stuff texture rollers, they work pretty good if you're rubbing it onto like a really thick piece of clay. But on an incredibly small amount on the top of a base, it likes to stick and then peel it off. So it took me a while to get these bases looking okay, but I like the Kzarin. But as much as I like the Kzarin, my new hotness, my new favorite, the Fel Goreravagers. One of the coolest things in Kill Team. I love when Kill Team takes a step away from like mainstream 40K, the normal factions, the ones that you can find in 40K, and just gets weird with it. And the Beastmen are weird. Also, incredibly fun to play with. They have a special rule, which is basically their special ability is that they don't die. If you kill them, they stay alive until the end of their next activation. So if there is a Fel Gore after you, it is gonna get to you and it is going to punch you. Even if it's dead, it's still gonna get to you. It's almost like a Necron. Honestly, the Fel Goreravagers are more Necron-y than the Necrons, the Herotech Circle. These guys, I painted them up based on a picture of a little kid, like a little baby goat. And so that's why they have white fur and kind of like pale skin, which just looks so gross. It looks so gross on a Fel Goreravager body. And I tried Dirty Down Rust for the first time on these guys, and it works pretty darn good. That stuff is really, really solid. And the bases are just like evil black barren landscape. It kind of reminds me of the elephant graveyard from The Lion King. These guys, I love them so much. They're just aggression incarnate in Kill Team, and they're so much fun to play with. And speaking of playing with them, this is the Kill Team that I did play Scott the Miniature Maniac with in Kill Team, and I won. And just, maybe I won because it happened to be before they got FAQ'd and nerfed, so they were maybe a little bit overtuned, but I still call it a victory. Another kill team that is also fairly aggressive is the Urbides Exaction Squad, the 40k police, and also another very fun thing that doesn't really exist in 40k, except at the launch of 10th edition. Holy cow, was the Exaction Squad so good, so undercosted in points that every single Imperial player was taking at least one squad of these guys in their army. They got taken out with big old nerf because they needed to. It was dumb. Every single Imperial army, like Imperial Knights, Sisters of Battle, Space Marines, they were all bringing the Adeptus Urbides because they were way better than everything else because of how cheap they were. But these guys in Kill Team are fantastic. I feel like Games Workshop does a much better job when they don't have to rely on 40k, because the Exaction Squad, every operative is a really fun Kill Team flavor. I mean, it comes with the, it comes with the hits, it comes with Knife Guy, it comes with Sniper Guy. But these guys, they have the ability to arrest other operatives. Like, they can literally put handcuffs on a gene stealer and they can't do anything about it. It's great. They have to survive in combat, which is a little hard against gene stealers, but if they pull it off, that gene stealer is handcuffed and can no longer play the game. It's hilarious. On these guys, I tried chipping medium on their armor, which definitely worked, but I think the chipping medium went underneath contrast paint, and contrast paint is pretty tough, so I really had to scrape them with a toothpick to get good chips on there. I probably should have just worked with normal acrylic colors through the airbrush so that it was a super light layer of paint. That would have given me slightly better, or at least easier chips. It was like 2 hours of poking at these guys with a toothpick to get them to this level of damage. But I do like them a lot. I'm a big fan of Judge Dredd, and these guys are just Judge Dredd. In fact, if you look at the old Metal Games Workshop models, they were literally Judge Dredd. And my newest kill team that actually is so new I haven't gotten a chance to play with it yet, Intercession. Not Intercessor, Intercession is the name of an Intercessor kill team. And they are Space Wolves. I super kit bashed these guys using bits from Grey Tide Studios, and man, do they do a good job with bits. And they do a really good job of thinking of like other ways to incorporate bits in, like little necklaces to hang on their legs, little extra pieces of armor to go on their wrists. So you can really load up a Space Marine with these bits, and it transforms them. This is a bog standard Intercessor, and yet he's like unrecognizable from the Games Workshop box art. It's a really, really fun kill team. I actually used UV resin to give them these kind of glacier bases. I kind of want another try with it. I just laid a really thin layer down just to have a little bit of blue translucence with the snow on top. I wouldn't mind trying again and really building it up so each one is standing on like its own little iceberg, but I'm very happy with how these guys turned out. Space Wolves are really, really fun to paint. I'd only painted one Space Wolf before this team, but yellow, red, and a very, very light blue-gray is such a fantastic color palette, and it gives you so many opportunities to splash out little decorations and little free-handed extras. If I wasn't 13,000 points deep into Black Templar, I would be very, very, I would be tempted by the Space Wolves. I would be tempted to paint more operatives for my kill team because, actually, they just came out with the Space Marine Heroes Series 3 or Series 4 models, and they're all based on Primaris Space Marines. So maybe there'd be a way that I could make some more operatives and then use this as like just a giant pool of Space Marine models to play kill team with. And I could either do Intercession or I could do the new Space Marine Heroes series. But speaking of heroes, do you know what is the most heroic thing I can possibly think of? That's right, our Patreon. Over there, we have a brand new terrain set every single month, and this month we have the Crashed Spaceship. An absolutely monstrous set of terrain that is the definition of a centerpiece. And if you always want to stay up to date on the goings-on here at Eons of Battle and be entered into our monthly giveaways, this month we're picking 3 followers to receive this month's terrain, and we're picking 1 follower to receive the terrain physically, printed by Only Games. You can follow the link in the description below to sign up to our newsletter. With the Space Marine Intercession kill team, I am now at 19 finished painted kill teams, and 20 is a nice round number. And there is one kill team that I haven't mentioned yet. I think I've talked about it before, but I'm gonna leave it as a mystery because it is my favorite kill team. It is one I've played many times through proxy. And once I get a few more models together, I'm gonna paint it up, and it's gonna be the cherry on top of my kill team collection.